Hey everybody, how's it going today?
Hey, welcome everyone.
Hey, so we're gonna wait here just for a couple minutes. I'm Tyler and this is Corey.
How's it going?
We're both on the Stellar Labs team. We're gonna get going in about 2 or 3 minutes. Go ahead and I've got a quick question for everyone before we get going. Just kind of play a fun little game. The first person to give me the answer that I found to be the correct answer, we're gonna send you a T-shirt, a Run PPC T-shirt. So say hi and thanks, Brooke. I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, very
So
nice.
tell me, how much money do you think that Amazon lost during the technical glitch on Prime Day last year?
Yeah.
So
You guys remember that?
we'll play Price is Right rules. It's only open up until we get going, but if you get the right number or close to it, the first person to get it, we're going to go ahead. Well, not the right number. What we found to the estimate to be.
Yep.
Then we'll mail you a Run PPC T-shirt. Oh, we're getting a lot of great answers.
Yeah, we're getting 45 million. That's getting there.
Yeah, someone said 0. That's definitely not true.
Definitely
Amazon
not true.
lost more than $0 just on a given day when they have the glitch.
Right.
Lori says 6 million. That's a little low.
99's. Oh, that one's really close.
Yeah, that one's pretty close.
That one's the closest one we've seen.
All right, so we're kind of looking at these. And hello again, everyone.
All right, there.
We're waiting for just a couple minutes for those of you who just joined.
That one's really close.
This one's really close.
Yeah.
Jody's pretty darn close. So shout out to you, Jody. That might be the winner if we don't get anyone closer.
Yep.
So we're guessing how much Amazon lost by the estimates that Corey and I found in our research going up to this webinar last year during the technical glitch. So go ahead and slam that into the message bar there.
Seen some pretty close ones here.
Yeah,
they might actually. I'm starting to see really close ones. I think they're Googling
are you guys
now.
Googling it now? No
starting.
cheating. No, that's awesome. And we're just gonna give us another 60 seconds, and we'll get going with the content of the webinar.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot that are really similar.
Some really, really great guesses.
Yeah, they're not outlandish.
Not at all.
Yeah, these are good.
Yeah, we're starting to dial it in a little bit more. Awesome.
All right, you said Price is Right, so if they go over?
Yeah, Price is Right rules. So for those of you who don't know what that means, if you go over, then you bust. So, all right, so I think we probably got a right answer. Our team will go through this at the end, and we will reach out to the first person who gave that correct answer and reach out to you. So that's exciting stuff. So I think it's about time for us to get going, right?
Yeah, let's dive into the material that we have prepared.
Yeah, so everyone, thanks for coming out today. My name is Tyler Henderson. I'm run partnerships with Stellar Labs, and this is Corey Checketts.
Yeah, hi, I'm Corey Checketts. I'm the product marketing lead here at Stellar Labs. So I work really close with our product team, Feedback Genius Ignite, work with the product managers, and we work together to make sure we're giving our customers and potential customers the best possible product.
Totally. So it's a really cool balance between the two of us.
Yeah.
Me working externally with a lot of sellers and influencers in the space,
right,
as well as bringing that back into the internal team. And then Corey working internally with the product team and taking that back out into sellers as well.
Exactly.
And specializing with the product. So we got a really cool way to bring this material to you, and hopefully a nice little viewpoint that you might not have as a seller individually.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about first is Prime members alone in 2018 purchased over 100 million plus products. So that's not in sales. That's just individual products that were purchased during Prime Day 2018. So this is an interesting number because normally we like to think about it in sales, right?
Yeah.
But it's a little tough for me as a seller to think about, well, what is, these big numbers that we're about to share in sales, what does that really mean for me as one of, hundreds of thousands of sellers on Amazon? But when I start to think about it in terms of individual products, it becomes a little bit more clear as to what I can do to increase my sales. Don't you think?
No, I completely agree, because you look at 100 million products, and that's 100 million different individual products that someone had to pick, put in a box, ship it out. It becomes pretty astronomical when you think about it. And I think, we've all handled products individually.
Yeah.
And it's
we've
crazy.
Yeah, we've all sent in shipments to Amazon and kind of can start to grasp what 100 million products
in a day. Yeah.
in a day,
or at least
feels
36 hours. You know,
yeah,
for
totally.
the Prime days.
So that's like a really astronomical fact. And Corey and I want to kind of get into some more facts about Prime Day 2018, so you can understand, those of you who are maybe not super familiar with Prime Day,
Yeah.
can understand why this is important and why you need to be treating it with gravitas and like another Black Friday or Cyber Monday.
Yeah, yeah,
event.
it really is a big deal. And if you're on this webinar, you probably know that. So we're gonna drive it home a little more.
Yeah, and then we'll get to the great things that you need to do to prepare for Prime
Exactly.
Day. So go ahead, Corey. I think this is you.
Yeah, if you look at this chart, we can see the growth of Prime Day over the years. So if you remember, 2015 was the very first year Amazon held this, I guess the shopping holiday, we'll call it. And for the one day, they did about $1 billion worth of sales, which is astronomical. I mean, that's crazy. But then if you look, it's nearly doubled every single year since then, up until last year. They had $4.19 billion. So looking at these growth charts here, I mean, is it possible, Tyler, that we could see an $8 billion Prime Day?
You know, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. You know, it's hard to guess whether it's going to keep doubling or not every year. I think that, like,
where does the growth stagnate, right?
Yeah, I think tentatively we can expect to see at least a $6 billion Prime Day.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
And you know, I think that we're going to get into what U.S. versus international sales breakdown too. But if international sales especially continue growing, we'll be able to see that $8 billion. Which kind of takes us to our next slide here, which is a breakdown of how Prime Day breaks down internationally versus the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2015, it's almost entirely U.S., $700 million. And then as we continue to grow, of course, the U.S. sales almost double every single year, but the international growth rate, run rate, is way higher than the even the U.S.
It's growing exponentially. Really.
Yeah, it's growing exponentially. And, you know, I think that maybe in 2019, it might not be outrageous for it to be close to 50-50.
Yeah.
Maybe 60-40, but 50-50, I don't think is a wild estimation.
No, it's not. And I think the point that we want to drive home with this is that if you're not focusing on international opportunities on Prime Day, you're potentially missing out on half the opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just as you start to think about all the tips and things that we're going to tactics we're going to talk you through today, remember that you also need to be able to implement these things internationally as well.
Yep. Awesome.
So then the next thing we want to talk about is the categories that do well on Prime Day. And I talk to a lot of sellers, and it's not just your typical quote unquote holiday categories, right?
Yeah, the hot stuff. Right?
I don't need to worry about Prime Day. I sell office supplies, right?
Right. I'm not going to sell socks.
I sell socks. But in reality is shoppers are coming to shop for just about everything on Prime Day, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're coming with wallets open, ready to spend. They're looking for deals. Totally. And they need a variety of things. I mean, as fun as an Xbox is, a lot of people don't need an Xbox, right?
Right.
Or, you know, whatever electronic device you have. I mean, you can see here, there's a huge opportunity for jewelry, 13.2%.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, the one that really surprised me here was office supplies. The fact that people are coming and buying office supplies, you know, 11%, 10% of people are buying office supplies on Prime Day is a number that I did not expect to see. And so it's huge to see that even on the unsexy, like you said, categories, that you can see a huge bump in your sales on Prime Day. So I guess the question becomes, what does it really take to succeed on and stand out on Prime Day?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously we're going to talk a lot about nailing the preparation. Mm-hmm. And so it's a multifaceted approach, but we're going to talk a lot about optimization, having an ASIN strategy in place. Tyler knows a lot about that. Yeah. And he's really going to dig into that.
Yeah. So you want to make sure to nail the prep going into it, because you can only be as good on the day of as your prep leading up to something.
Yeah, exactly.
The second is executing day of tactics. So we've kind of made sure our listing's completely optimized. We've done all of that, but now we're on day of. We want to make sure that our advertising's in place, that we're running unofficial deals, that we are completely set up to succeed in every single way that we possibly can. We're driving traffic from off of Amazon onto the Prime Day, and we're really going to harness that bump that Prime Day gives us.
Yeah, and also, you know, taking advantage of off Amazon traffic, you know, through your social media stuff, your personal email list, stuff like that.
And then the third and final is taking advantage of the halo effect. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a little parched. Yeah, so the halo effect is essentially all of the added benefits after Prime Day.
Right.
So that can be anything ranging from how you're messaging people who've bought your product, asking for product reviews, seller feedback, working on growing your sales and search rank and how to get the most of it going into Q4. Because essentially Prime Day is it's basically Christmas and summer, and it's a great way to prepare you for the craziness, as we know, is Q4, Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something that can really propel your business into Q4, assuming that you know how to harness it and take advantage of it. So we're going to talk about a bit about that today as well. And then the final thing that I want to kind of touch on before we kind of dig into the tactical, really productive stuff is to not forget to be flexible. So that means understanding there's always things that are going to go wrong. Like we're in late April right now. We don't even know the days that Prime Days are going to be on, right?
Yeah, no, we don't.
We can assume that it's the second or third week in July.
Yeah, historically that's been the case.
Yeah, the 6 month mark before kind of going into Q4, right? If Christmas it's Christmas in July.
Yeah, Christmas in July.
So it's unknown dates, technical glitches. It's being able to be flexible and make changes the day of, and having done the prep to set up for that, to be flexible, is only going to behoove you.
Exactly.
So let's go ahead and get started on topic number 1, which is nailing the preparation. So the first thing we need to talk about before we get to any of the optimizations or setting up your advertising campaigns or when you should be running deals or when you should not be running deals is the idea of having an ASIN strategy. And so this is going into Prime Day with a strategy for each individual ASIN. So just like you need to have a strategy for each individual ASIN year round, you need to make sure to have one going into Prime Day as well, because this is going to set you up to succeed. So first, you need to identify your business goals for each of your ASINs. So this is either maximizing sales, sales efficiency, or brand awareness. And you want to know this for each individual ASIN. So let's talk about what those 3 individual goals mean and how they kind of apply. So the first goal is maximizing sales. So this is when you're seeking to increase the total number of sales to increase your overall velocity. So if we're going into Prime Day with the goal of maximizing sales for an ASIN, we're less concerned with the overall profit margin of the product. We're saying, I'm willing to take a little bit of a loss, break even potentially, but probably take a little bit of a loss on the deals that I'm running, on the advertising that I'm running, on all of these things, because I'm trading that profit or trading a little bit of a loss so that I can increase my velocity. Because if I increase my velocity now, then I'm going to see better results in Q4. Right. And better results on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So maximizing sales now is going to help you do all these things. We'll talk about the halo effect and what all that entails in a little bit, but that's the goal of maximizing sales. Goal number two is sales efficiency. So this is when you're seeking to maintain a set profitability goal and try to keep your advertising sales below a set level. So this is for a more mature product, right? You've already launched, you're running advertising. You say, I can't take a bath on this product, like I can't lose money while selling it, but I want to increase my sales as much as I can, but I want to make sure to keep my profitability levels within a range that I feel comfortable with. And again, this is a pretty standard tactic. So you're saying I want to increase sales as much as possible while staying within this profitability range. And the third is brand awareness. And this is a little bit more of an advanced goal. I imagine most of you probably won't want to do brand awareness, but this is when you're trying to increase this amount of eyes on your page and grow your reach for a set amount of products. So in this, you're not really concerned about profit margin. You're not really concerned about your profitability. What you're concerned about is strictly impressions. So you're trying to say, I want to show my product to as many people as possible, and I want them to become aware of it so that down the road, they'll be interested in buying it.
Yeah, so I guess people who, we all do a lot of research on Amazon. And so maybe because someone comes to your page one time, they don't buy it. That doesn't mean they're not going to come back.
Absolutely. And this is what a good headline search ads, things like that are completely great for this. So now that we've kind of figured out what our goal is for each of our ASINs, and again, you can choose any 3 of those ASINs. You're probably going to, or 3 of those goals for each individual ASINs, right? You're going to have a couple that are in the sales efficiency. You're going to have a couple that are in the maximizing sales. You might have a couple that are in the brand awareness, but you want to start to use that to inform these next couple things and your product selection for Prime Day. So here's a math word problem that you need to be thinking about. So how do I take my current sales to my goal for Prime Day, right? So you have your goal, which is your brand awareness, your, all of those, but we need to make that a real number in regards to sales.
Right.
So we know what our current sales on an average day is. How do we get them to our goal number for Prime Day? Well, first we need to analyze the data, and then we need to interpret the data, establish a strategy to implement, and then work backwards from our goal. So let's make that a little bit more practical, shall we?
Yeah.
Because I know it's kind of easy to
there's
say
a lot.
this
There's
thing,
a lot going
right?
on here.
But let's kind of break it down a little bit more. So the first thing that you can do to kind of get to the practical, what do I need to do to improve my listing and reach my goal, is to go to your business reports and download the detail page sales and traffic by child item report. And so if you guys don't know where that is, it's right here in your reports and under other, and it's located in your business reports. The report's going to be a foundation of establishing your goals and strategy for your ASIN. So this tells you sessions, which is the amount of traffic to your ASINs and page views, page views essentially. Session percentage, which is essentially your sales conversion, as well as your buy box percentage. What it doesn't tell you is your profit, but you should be able to figure that out fairly easy. If you don't know how to calculate your product, I would suggest Googling that. I'm not going to cover that today, but I would suggest Googling that for sure, because knowing your profit percentages are worth knowing. So download this report. From there, we can build an ASIN strategy. So we want to have a goal for sessions, session conversions, and profit. So here's an example. For sessions, I want to have a minimum of 1,000 sessions per month. Now, we want to break this down even more to Prime Day specifically, so we can see what our sessions for an average day are by multiplying, dividing it out.
Yes.
And we can say if we want to have a certain number of sales or a certain number of sessions, we need to figure out how many sessions we need to make those sales. Right. And so in order to get to that point, you also have to know your session conversion percentage, right? Yeah. Which is how many people, what percentage of people are actually buying when they land on your page. So you want to have a minimum of 10%. 30% is good. So if you have a less than 10% conversion rate, that's bad, and you need to do some optimization.
Yep.
So, and then for profit, you want to establish your profit range based on what your goal is, right? Whether it's sales efficiency, whether it's maximizing sales, whether it's brand awareness. So if you're trying to maximize sales, you're okay with having a lower profit margin or a negative profit margin.
Right.
If you are a sales efficiency, then you want it to be within the range that you feel comfortable with from your profit margin.
Makes sense.
So let's work in reverse to see what a good Prime Day looks like for us.
Yeah, let's dig in.
So here's some real numbers for you guys. And I know this is getting really complicated, but this really is the foundation from which you need to build your strategy from Prime Day. We're going to talk about a lot of like implementation and things like that in just a minute. But I want you guys to understand that if you don't know your numbers, you can't understand how to advertise effectively or run deals effectively, or be able to be flexible on the day of when things start to go sideways and not necessarily how you plan them.
Correct. Yeah.
So if we know we want to create 1,000 sessions. So let's get back to it. So we want to create a certain amount of revenue. That's our goal, right? So if we know that we want to have a $700,000 or $700,000 day for whatever or whatever works out to. That's how this math problem works out.
Yep.
We need to work backwards from that. So if we create 1,000 sessions at a 10% conversion rate, that means we've moved 100 extra units, right? And if we have 100 units per month or on the day of times $29.99, then that equals $2,999. Which works out to be per month $35,000.
Right.
And then if we times that by the number of ASINs that we're running it on, we can find out what our sales for our entire account is going to be. Right. Again, this is complicated, but it says if you have a goal of selling $500,000 on Prime Day, you have to work in reverse and understand how many units that takes, how many sessions it takes to sell those units, and your conversion rate and all of those things to get to that point. Because if you were working in reverse, it's way easier to say, okay, I only need to sell 500 units. Or if I focus more of my advertising on this product, I can potentially better use my money on Prime Day.
Right. Yeah. And it sounds like it basically is like a barometer to keep you on track. And if you need to be flexible because you're close to a goal, you can then make adjustments because you know what numbers you're trying to hit. Absolutely.
And you can say, okay, well, am I okay with driving more traffic if conversion rate goes down to a 10%? So based on your goals and your analysis, you'll learn what to optimize, right? So let's take a look at what these different numbers mean and what we should optimize on based on what our numbers are telling us. So if you're not reaching your sessions goal, you need to increase your sponsored product ads, update your keywords and search terms, and then off of Amazon advertising, drive more traffic to it. So if you're not creating sessions, you're probably either not advertising, you're not ranking organically, or you're not driving traffic from external sources. So those are the things you need to change if you're not creating the right number of sessions. If you're missing on session conversion, which is conversion rate, like we talked about, right? You need to fix your item detail page, your images, your bullet points and title. Fix your product reviews. Check those, make sure that you don't have any glaring holes as far as that goes.
Yeah, places you can improve.
Adjust your pricing and run promotions. If you're not winning the buy box enough, adjust your pricing, run promotions, make sure you're an FBA, and then ultimately stop selling it if it's like eating your capital to have it waiting in this product. And then finally, profitability. Stop selling when you can no longer maintain a profit range, or stop selling at a loss with a goal of maximizing sales and move to sales efficiency when you need to make sure that your goal is correct.
Yeah, all great advice.
So I know that was a lot,
but
it leads us right into our next case, right? We just talked about what to optimize and when. We now know how to figure out what we need to optimize, right? We know on our individual accounts, on our individual ASINs, when we need to make changes now, right? It's not just saying, oh, I think I need to have better keywords. We know based on this slide and based on our individual numbers when we need to go in and do it. So Corey, tell us a little bit about optimization.
Yeah, let's dig into the optimization part here. Go to the next slide. So we're going to go over just talking about the product, product images, your product title, bullet points, and last but not least, enhanced brand content. So when you're optimizing your product, especially for Prime Day, remember to optimize for the product and not the offer. Although it may seem compelling to really focus on kind of the discount or whatever buy one, get one you're offering that might be unofficial versus an official Prime Day offer, remember to keep it very product focused, because that's what's going to convert into a sale. So I have a screenshot here of both Amazon and eBay. And eBay, if you spend a lot of time there, is very offer focused. You'll see here on our Instapot on eBay, we have over 10,000 different results. So those are 10,000 products that people are trying to get eyeballs on because they want to sell. So they're competing for the offer versus Amazon. We have the product. Let's go to the next one. Thank you. So you want to focus on your product images, because that's what people are looking at. They're going to look at that before they look at your bullet points, before they scroll down to see what your enhanced brand content is. What kind of images are you showing that's compelling? So obviously we know that your hero image or your starter image needs to have a white background as per Amazon's terms and conditions. But beyond that, you can add some flair. So make a magazine add text, make it descriptive, make it really obvious for people who are researching your product, for them to want to buy it. So they don't have to spend a lot of time doing more research digging in. If they want, great, but you should make it pretty obvious from the get-go.
Absolutely.
And then your product title. This is a huge factor in not only helping people click on your product to see exactly what it is, but it also helps with your organic traffic. So I broke down the Instapot product title here, and you can see that they kick off really well. They bring in their brand name, that talk about the model. So if your product has a unique model number that shoppers might be searching for, make sure to include it, because that's going to help them zero in on that specific product without browsing through a bunch of listings that aren't relevant to them. And they obviously talk about the feature, the type. So pressure cooker, if they're looking for a pressure cooker and they stumble across yours, great, like you have the keyword in there. The size also helps. The model, people may want the newest model, so include that. And don't forget the material. That's, I feel like that gets overlooked a lot, but the material will help, again, zero in on people who just maybe want a stainless steel pressure cooker. And so, yeah, this title is really well done. As you can see, it's 22 words, 143 characters. So that's below the 200 character limit. Really good example. Make sure to look at, top sellers in your category that you want to emulate. You don't want to copy, but, you can pull a lot of really good things from them that will help your product and help you kind of get some guidance on where you need to be with what an optimized product listing should be.
Absolutely. And, I think that the great part about this listing in particular is there's nothing extraneous on this. It's, like you said, it's not stuffed. It's telling you exactly what you need to know and is optimized for search.
Yeah, thank you. And then your bullet points. So Amazon gives you 5, as you know. This is a great place. Make sure you're describing what your product does. Talk about the different features and the benefits. And this is a great place to add your long tail keywords. And remember, don't stuff, because that doesn't help you at all. You just need the keyword one time. And I know a lot of sellers will put in, all caps on like key keywords that they really want to help bring to the forefront for people who are browsing. That's totally fine. The Instapot didn't do that, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do that. And
there are a lot of different schools of thought on like what helps with that. And, I would say do your research and figure out what you think's best in that regards.
Yeah, it's optimization. It's all about experimenting,
Yeah, totally.
It's always changing too. And then enhanced brand content. Again, if you're not using enhanced brand content, this is probably the number one thing that I want to drive home in this section. It's for, people who are brand registered, and it's free. You don't have to pay extra to use it. And Amazon claims that it can increase the conversion rate by 5%. So there's really no reason not to. And then looking at, Instapot does a really good job at this. If you look at their page, that's very lifestyle focused. You could see yourself having one of these in your kitchen. They place it really well to where it looks like it's in your house. And then, in this part, this is where you want to maybe go a little more in depth on like all the really great key features and like really get that product photography looking amazing. And it's definitely worth investing. If you're not a photographer, like don't try to do it yourself. Find, there's online resources. There's people in your neighborhood on Craigslist who could probably help you out with this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think that our admin's going to drop in the chat a link to brand registry.
Yeah,
so that if
absolutely.
you don't have brand registry, but you have the correct trademarks and things like that to get brand registry, Caroline's going to drop that in the chat box for you guys, because enhanced brand content is absolutely worth the investment.
Yeah, it's imperative.
And if you're not using it but have the ability to, you need to make sure to hop on that before Prime Day.
Yep. Thank you, Tyler.
So the next step is executing day of tactics, right? We've talked about preparation. We've talked about how to determine how to get to that point, to what we need to prep. But now we need to talk about executing day of tactics, because ultimately coffee is for closers, right?
Glengarry, Glen Ross.
So we can do all the prep in the world, but if we can't close the day of and we don't nail it the day of, then all our prep was for nothing. So the first thing I want to talk about is, we'd be remiss to talk about it. Most of you are probably upset that we haven't talked about it already.
Yeah, when are you guys going to talk about advertising?
Right. Well, you can't talk about Prime. You can't talk about Amazon in 2019 without talking about advertising.
No, not at all.
But you definitely can't talk about Prime Day without talking about advertising. So we're having a advertising specific webinar on June 19th, and Caroline's going to put the link in there to register for that. But we're holding a whole webinar specifically about advertising on Prime Day on June 19th. So if you want the deep dive into that, you're going to get that on June 19th. So sign up for that. We are going to talk about Prime Day advertising briefly.
Scratch on it, really.
But we really, when Corey and I were planning this webinar, kind of the discussion we had was, well, we can't just talk about advertising for 5 minutes. Because if we talk about advertising for 5 minutes, we need to talk about it for 45 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
it's a big topic.
So Jeff and Lena from our team are going to be giving a specific webinar on June 19th. Sign up for that, and they're going to answer all your specific advertising questions.
It's coming.
That being said, here are a couple quick tips that I wanted to give you because I would feel remiss even with that caveat. So one, ensure that your campaigns are structured for success. So it's just making sure that your campaigns are set up and are ready to scale, because chances are if you have a 200% ACoS going into Prime Day and your campaigns aren't set up to scale correctly, you're not going to have a good Prime Day. You're going to have 200% or 500% ACoS on Prime Day.
That hurts.
Secondly, you want to increase your budget surrounding Prime Day. So it's not just a one-day event anymore, right? People are going to start going
36 hours or more, really.
Yeah, or even like the full week surrounding it, right, on both sides. So you want to make sure to increase your budget surrounding Prime Day. And if you're hitting your budgets, bumping up against your daily budgets surrounding Prime Day, you're definitely going to do that on Prime Day. So make sure to monitor your budgets closely, as well as your keywords closely, so you can make sure to set those ones that are negative and eating your budget. Eating your budget without being successful. So make sure to monitor all of those things closely. So that being said, again, June 19th, if you want to learn more about advertising on Prime Day, that's your jam. All right, and with that, we're going to move on.
Yeah, let's talk about unofficial deals real quick. We still got a lot to cover, so I'll breeze through this. But you definitely want to take advantage of the uptick in traffic, even if you don't have an Amazon-sponsored Prime Day deal. So remember that shoppers will always buy to price. You're better off to offer a 10% discount versus like a buy one, get one deal, or a buy X and Y and get Z product. Although those are good, always offer some sort of deal percentage off. And I'm not advocating, I'm not saying that you raise your price leading into Prime Day and then offer 10% discount to basically sell the product that at your normal price. Like, that's a big gray area. Don't do that. And it could be questionably illegal as well. So I would stay away from that. Plus, shoppers are really smart. They use camel. I know I do. I'm always seeing how prices are trending. Expect that a lot of shoppers are doing this. So they really are looking for a deal. You want to also price competitively to win the buy box. If you are a reseller, authorized reseller, like, make sure you're pricing competitively so you can get in on those buy box conversions. Again, that's not a long-term strategy, and based off of what Tyler said earlier, it could pay off big dividends in the future after Prime Day and leading into Q4. And then again, don't underestimate the importance of Prime Day. This is a big deal. Like we said earlier, it reached over 4 billion last year. We could see 6 billion plus. Really big opportunity here. So don't pass it up.
Yeah, I think that this is especially true for those. I've already seen a couple questions about my products aren't eligible for Prime Day deals, or how do I haven't been invited to, because you have to be invited to give a Prime Day deal. Yeah,
you're like sanctioned by that.
So even if you haven't been invited, or if your products aren't qualified because maybe you're in an unsexy category or whatever, you can still offer coupons, percentages off, things like that in an unofficial way that are still going to get people's attention and convert them when they're on your page. Yeah,
exactly. Because there's going to be just so much organic traffic. Like,
absolutely.
The rising tide, right, lifts all ships. So
indeed. So another option that's worth talking about, and that we could probably spend a whole webinar on,
definitely,
is driving off-channel traffic. So this is everything from Facebook, Google, Facebook ads, running ads on Google, on Bing, on having deal sites, special promotions. If you have an email list, drive traffic from your email list. Again, just a coupon.
Yeah, like the morning of, like, just get people.
Yeah, or even going up into Prime Day.
Yeah, leading into it.
If you want to say, hey, I want to run a small deal going into Prime Day to hopefully boost my organic ranking going into Prime Day, you want to make sure to like drive that traffic, because if you can start ranking a little bit more organically, and you get a little bit more of a piece of the pie of that much bigger Prime Day circle, then you're gonna see a lot more success. So that's a super good time to like try to boost it in that way. And then drive people to your deals on the morning of Prime Day, but like I said, leading up into and even after potentially as well.
Yeah, no, it's a great piece of advice. Influencers. Try to figure out who your influencers are in the space. If you haven't identified who they are, you have some time right now to, make those contacts, reach out to people who are talking about your product, who are reviewing your product off Amazon. Maybe they have a blog and they're doing different prize giveaways to their audience. Like, find who these people are and try to make a deal and
Mm-hmm.
start creating that buzz and getting some traffic over to your detail page.
Totally. And that's something that you need to start reaching out about if you want to use influencers.
Probably
things
yesterday,
like that.
right?
Yeah, you want to start like now to make sure that they can get their reviews and their schedule in sync with yours for Prime Day when it happens.
Exactly. Yeah, social media is a big one. Like everyone, we follow different things on social media, interest groups. I follow a lot of influencers on products I'm interested in. So if you're not sure where to start, Instagram's always a good place. There's a lot of chatter going on about products and lifestyle stuff. This is an example post that you can use where you try to get people engaged and you offer some sort of discount or some sort of offer. People are using your product. Again, this is just a good place to start. I'm not saying you got to copy this, but start somewhere and start building up that audience, because if you're not talking about your product on social media, I can guarantee someone is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and here's just an example of, if you have a Facebook group where you can drive traffic to your Facebook group. For example, they're talking about dog training tips. You can get people over to your group if you're, talking about use cases of your product. You don't necessarily have to make it so, hey, we're offering a discount, come over to our page. Like, give them something more that's going to help them and benefit potential customers. And your group's a great place because it's a closed conversation. People are sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's a miniature forum where people can talk about your product and share ideas.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's completely right.
And just these are some examples like of an influencer talking about your product. It could be your product. But this is like kind of what they'll do. I'm sure we've all seen them.
Yeah, I think if anyone who has an Instagram has seen these, but if you're not familiar, these are sponsored posts and you're just giving away products and maybe even kicking them some money to show off your products. And it's something that really works, right?
It definitely works.
So that's a good way to look at it. And then here's a post from an individual like Ben and Jerry. We all love Ben and Jerry's around here. And so here's them showing off their product in a cool way. And just maybe you could use a post like this to drive traffic to Amazon to help get that organic boost the day of.
Yeah, get your brand out in the world. Shows that it's, people are using it. You're doing stuff.
Absolutely. So now I want to talk about taking advantage of the halo effect. So what is the halo effect? We've kind of mentioned it a couple times now, but we haven't really talked about it. And kind of how I look at the halo effect and think about the halo effect is harnessing the leap that you're getting from a big event, right? From whether it's a launch or it's Prime Day or it's Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and it's harnessing that boost that we're getting and using it to not only raise our product up to the next level, not only for that day of,
right,
but also the time surrounding it. So a lot of the times we might look like this gymnast who overleaps where he thought he was going, right? The halo effect takes us up and through and over. So the halo effect, Prime Day can launch you into Q4. That's what we kind of want to look at here, right? If we nail the implementation, if we nail the prep and then the implementation, then Prime Day can really launch us into Q4 by affecting both our search and sales rank, as well as helping us with reviews and conversions, right?
Yeah, multifaceted.
So how do we capitalize on these extra sales, right? How do we harness the halo effect for these extra sales, right? Obviously, Amazon's already building into their algorithms. When our conversion rate goes up, our sales go up, all of those things are going to help us rank better organically. They're going to help with our ACoS and things like that and our placements on our advertising side. But how can we help control that halo effect?
Yeah, and let's take advantage of that.
Definitely. So one easy way to do that is through product reviews. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that you have a review solicitation strategy in place leading up into Prime Day, but especially before and part of your implementation for Prime Day.
Yep.
So more sales means more reviews, which is a good thing, right? Statistically, you're going to get, if you're not using some kind of tool to reach out, you're going to get between 0.5 and 2% of people who buy your product are going to leave a review. So
just naturally.
Naturally, you're going to get more reviews if you're making more sales. However, it also means more of a chance that those people leave negative reviews or have a return and affect your overall health of your account.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And you're going to want to be very vigilant looking at whatever feedback and reviews, because you might get people who are leaving seller feedback in place of a product review or vice versa. And there are things that you can do to help. If the review or the feedback isn't valid, you can actually contact Amazon to get those things removed. So
Absolutely.
be mindful of that, as much good as you're putting in, there could be some mistakes and some errors. So you want to really harness the potential of all of that.
Definitely. And remember that your job as a seller is to provide the best customer service and experience. And that's what Amazon ultimately cares about when it comes to reviews and to seller feedback and all of those kind of things. So if you're providing good customer service and providing value to the customer, chances of them leaving you a positive review or positive feedback are way higher.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks.
So this is keeping the customer in focus is the best way that you can continue to control that halo effect, right? Because like we talked about, reviews are going to help with conversion rates. They're going to help with your being able to lower your A costs as time goes on. Like the more reviews that you have in that regards, the easier that everything kind of gets on Amazon.
Yeah, and not to mention, recent reviews as well. It's as great as it is to have a base built up. Like you obviously want continued discussion, continued enjoyment, people delighted with your product.
Absolutely. So how do you stand out on Prime Day? We talked about the 3 different steps here, right? We're nailing the preparation. That's having an ASIN strategy, optimizing your listings based on what that ASIN strategy is, and what our numbers are telling us.
Taking advantage of those the traffic.
Absolutely. Then there's executing day of tactics, right? That's making sure that our advertising is on point, which we're going to talk about on June 19th.
Yeah, so be there.
Link in the comments for you guys. Running off-channel deals, driving traffic to your listings, running what's the word we used?
Unofficial deals.
Unofficial deals.
Yeah, the unofficial deals.
Making sure that you have coupons and things like that ready, and then taking advantage of the halo effect. So really riding out the effect into Q4 and seeing that boost in both sales rank as well as hopefully reviews from providing customer service. But the final thing, again, we want to bring this all back home, right, is being flexible.
Yeah.
So having strong planning, making strategic decisions, and knowing all of your numbers really gives you the advantage that you need going into Prime Day. Because like we said, like you can do all the prep you want, but things are always going to be kind of wonky. Things aren't going to go the way you plan.
I mean, not even for Amazon, right?
Right, exactly. We had that number, and the number is 72 million.
Yep.
Is what Corey and I talked about. Is what the estimates that we read that Amazon lost during that 1 hour technical glitch or 2 hour technical glitch. That things aren't going to always go right, and so being able to be flexible by having strong planning, making strategic decisions, knowing your numbers, being fully optimized is the best way to succeed on Prime Day.
Yep.
That's the majority of our presentation. We have time. We have about 15 minutes to the top of the hour, and we have time for some questions.
Yeah, we've been getting questions. I know Caroline's been feeding us some questions.
Yeah.
And I think they're also going to be putting in a tip sheet that we put together.
Yep.
For this, to help you with Prime Day. And we are also going to send out a replay of this webinar with the slides tomorrow.
Yes. So we'll send out the PDF tip sheet that our team put together on how to nail Prime Day. Replay as well as the slides. So
yeah, let's.
So we have a first question here. How are you supposed to follow up and provide proactive customer service to thousands of orders? It's a great question.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about that halo effect and that there's going to be, hundreds, if not thousands of people looking at your products, buying your products. Obviously, buyer-seller messaging is as relevant today as it ever has been. And so by automating your buyer-seller messaging, you can take advantage of the just increased quantity of orders. And so, you can follow up. Remember, send one message per order, offer like a PDF that helps them. Or if you're trying to get a product review, ask them like, what do you think of the product?
Right. So we have a tool called Feedback Genius that helps you do that.
That's right.
And so if you do not have a review solicitation strategy in place, just get Feedback Genius. It starts at free.
Yeah, you can actually get it for free.
Get your first 100 messages for free. So get started with that, and you can start to see those number of reviews increase, and as well as the number of complaints go down. Now, keep in mind that when you reach out to people, there's a higher chance that they'll reach back out to you.
Yep.
But again, that's providing customer service, and that's what Amazon values above most things.
Yeah, just be proactive. Some fundamental stuff. Just, anything you'd expect, give it back.
Yeah, so we have a great question here that says, do you have any advice in terms of setting an ASIN-centric goals for a unique product that has never been sold during Q4 or Prime Day, but is starting to gain traction on Amazon? Are there any rules of thumb as far as percentage you should expect?
Oh, wow.
Wow, that is a
great question.
that is a killer question, like absolutely top tier question. And so one that's completely honest. To be completely honest with you, it's very tough to tell you the answer to that. It as everyone jokes, I should have a shirt that says "It depends," and my answer is it depends in this case.
Yeah, look at what your category is, right? I mean, that's a big part of it, like who your competition is.
If your competition, your category, if you're starting to see traction, the number of reviews that you have. If you're looking for something like what I would say, start to try to amp up going into it, and you might be able to see what it might look like. It's very tough to project that kind of thing going into Prime Day blind without knowing or seeing your numbers, especially in this kind of question. I would say if you're looking for something like what kind of budget you should be spending on advertising or something like that, something like 10% of your rolling 60 or 90 day profit is something that might not be bad. You might even want to double that on Prime Day. I think that some of what I've said is some of what I've heard is you probably want to double your budget for your advertising on Prime Day itself.
Right. Well, and also, if the product is showing up on a frequently bought together, if you have a product that's doing really well, but it also that your new product is showing up on the frequently bought together, you might want to, really up the better product and try to get some of that spillover traffic into I guess your upstart one that you haven't had on Prime Day.
Yeah. So that's
experiment with some stuff.
That's a very good question, and it's very hard to answer without knowing more about
there's a lot
more
of details.
Specifics. So I appreciate the question, and you can reach out to our team and we might be able to help you further, but I think that's a very tough question. So someone asked, can we use Amazon link for Google shopping ads and Facebook ads? Does it have to be our own, or does it have to be our own website? So you can send traffic from a Google ad to an Amazon page, through Facebook or Google. The thing you want to really make sure that you're doing well is making sure that it's qualified traffic, because again, we don't want to send thousands of clicks and sessions to a listing when those people are never going to buy the product.
They're just going to bounce out.
So I know one tactic that a lot of people teach, and I'm not the best person to teach you this by any means, but if you want to run from a Facebook ad or a Google ad, you might want to consider putting them on like a landing page beforehand, just to make sure that they're qualified and interested.
That traffic,
because again, we don't want to kill our session percentage, our session conversion percentage,
right?
Just because we're sending unqualified traffic, because that's a big red flag to Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. And, and it all goes back to then if your page is optimized.
Totally. So it's something that's worth doing, but there is some level of tailoring in the audiences, and
definitely do some research. Don't just take our word for it. Like go see what other people are saying as well.
Yeah, there's a ton of great experts in the space that talk about driving from Facebook to Amazon.
Right.
And like I said, that's its own session or set of sessions in itself. So it's something that you need to be considering and working with, but you also make sure need to go into judiciously. So here's a question. As a manufacturer, we never discount our products as it cheapens the brand and causes issues with the channels. What potential benefits would we get from participating in Prime Day? So that's a great question. I think that...
So they don't want a discount? Is that what... They're not planning on doing any discount then?
Yeah, so I guess my question would be to you. I think there's a couple follow-up questions that I'd have in that regards.
Yeah.
And it would be, are you the only seller on Amazon? Do you have other people in the who are you're sharing the buy box with? Do you win the buy box the majority of the time? Things like that. So your advantages for participating in Prime Day are potentially a lot more sales. I know that it seems, it might seem like it might hurt your brand if you lower your price, but I think that that's maybe a misnomer in some cases. It might cause you some problems if you have MAP and you're actively breaking MAP against your own.
But I mean, they said that they're the manufacturer, right?
Right.
So they should be able to. I would assume they can set some of those.
There are tolerances in which you can discount, in my opinion, that does not cheapen or hurt your brand.
So, well, and especially on Prime Day when people are there, again, opening their wallets, they're expecting a deal.
Yes, exactly. So you can still, if you're still interested in running deals without coupons or without running a Prime Day deals, then you just need to make sure that everything else is completely on point, right? You need to make sure that your session conversion percentage is absolutely great and that all your optimizations in that regard are great, because you can still benefit from all the traffic surrounding Prime Day.
Oh, yeah.
But you just need to be more aggressive with your advertising and things like that.
Right.
So, but which
great
means,
question, though.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's still benefits to doing it, but you just have to weigh out the pros and cons from your own business case on whether you want to discount or not discount.
Right.
Here's another question. I have 2 ASINs that are currently being offered as variable. Should I actually have 3 strategies for each, one for each plus a variable?
Oh, plus the variable. So strategy for each ASIN and the variable.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question, and my answer would be it depends.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can probably guess what that is.
So I think that broadly speaking, you're probably going to have similar goals, especially if they share a child. If it's a parent-child relationship on the ASIN, they're going to be very similar goals. And oftentimes, even with advertising, you're going to want to run them out of the same campaign and ad group.
Right.
So chances are those are all going to be on the same goal of either sales efficiency or brand awareness or maximizing sales. I think that you'll find that with your advertising specifically, you're going to find that maybe some of the child ASINs or parent ASINs are going to convert better than others. Mm-hmm. And then certain keywords are going to work and be more expensive for some than others, but they're all still working towards that same goal. So if you have questions about that, that's like a very good question for our support team or potentially our managed service team. If you have questions, they get like really into the weeds as far as how to set up your advertising to succeed the best in that way. And maybe that'd be a great question actually for the next webinar.
Yeah, it would be.
June 19th. But I think generally speaking, if you have child ASINs, they're generally, assuming they're not like bundles or things like that, they're generally going to have similar goals. Okay. Let's see here.
That's a pretty simple question right there. A question, a session is how or when a person is looking at the product. Sessions when someone comes to your landing page, to your product detail page, and they're looking at it.
Yeah.
So impressions, can get confusing with sessions, but that's what the session is. They have looked at it, but they haven't converted.
Right. So I think that a quick distinction, because we covered so much ground today. So an impression in advertising is when someone sees your ad.
Yeah, they've seen the ad.
A session is when they click on your product, either the ad
from the search engine
or
search
the
results page,
and they actually land on your page and have been on your page.
Yep.
So that's the distinction.
So you're right.
So it is a little confusing. So I hopefully that clears it up for you. Should I bid on Amazon Prime Day keywords for visibility?
Ooh, that's pretty broad. What does that say about your product?
I would not.
I wouldn't either.
That's a great question for June 19th.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and say no. Like, I think that would be...
Yeah, who are you trying to attract? Because, like, doesn't really describe anything about your product. And, like, who else is going to be...
Unless you're selling, like, a mug it says Prime Day on it.
Yeah, like, which you very may well be doing that, which that's probably a good idea. But
unless your product, like, specifically has to do with Prime, like, the concept of Prime Day...
Well, and that's where I said focus on, even with your optimizations, focus on the product and not the offer. So I would see that as more focusing on the offer and not the product. So that holds true with your ads as well.
Yeah. So I don't think, and I'd like to see the numbers behind this, but I don't think Amazon will give them to us. I would love to see how many people search Prime Day in the Amazon search bar. But think about it this way. Even if someone searches, what are the chances of someone who's just looking for Prime Day deals, searching Prime Day in the Amazon search bar, seeing your product and saying, oh, I actually want to buy that?
Yeah, those are
probably
things
pretty low.
Pretty low, because I think, people are obviously browsing. It's like, I think about, when I go to Target with my son and I'm, buying formula for him, but then it's, oh, well, hey, I also need to get my mom a card for Christmas or whatever. And so, like, you might get that shopping cart effect, where people are kind of just looking for one thing and they happen to see your product, but it's so hard to decide and like determine if that would work.
Yeah, I think that the advice, like Corey was saying about optimizing for the product, not the offer, stands true for advertising as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so final one here.
Yeah, we got about 4 minutes. So
final one here. Maybe one more after this, but I think this is probably going to be it.
Yeah.
How important is it to have a storefront?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. I think it varies. We were talking about running ads from Facebook and Google, and running those to a storefront might not be a bad idea over an individual offer page to help pre-qualify them.
Well, especially if you're trying to, promote your brand.
If you're going with a brand of goal of brand awareness,
right,
having a storefront's great. And if you can optimize that brand, that storefront, that's absolutely awesome.
Yep.
So I would say it's definitely something that's worth doing. But I would say the thing you need to focus on before you even get to that point is to make sure that your listings are fully optimized, that everything, that your session percentage is great, that your session conversion is great, that you have the buy box percentage of the time. Those are the things you need to focus on. Those are the screens you need to listen to, not the whispers like storefront. And like,
yeah, they're more known variables. They're more, you can control those things more.
Enhanced brand content, all of those things are going to help you with your sales the day of Prime Day, more than having more than a storefront. If you can only do one thing between now and then, the storefront's pretty low on my list.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right, so I think that's about all we have time for today. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, really, thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Like we said, the PDF tip sheet on how to succeed on Prime Day.
The replay and the slides as well.
They will all be coming out to you tomorrow. And thank you guys so much. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to our team at success@sellerlabs.com.
Yep, we're here to help.
We appreciate you guys. Have a great one and a successful Prime Day.
Yeah, good luck to
everyone. You're going to nail it.
So, yeah.